What's up, guys? Welcome to the Crypto Savvy channel. I'm Craig, and we're going to be going over the charts, first looking at the Dow Jones, then the DXY, then we'll look at the more immediate time frames in Bitcoin, and we'll zoom out to the bigger time frame, and I'm going to show you why I do not think Bitcoin's bottom, and I'll show you how I think it's going to bottom. I'll also tell you at the end when I think we could see a new all-time high. So definitely stick around for the whole video. Make sure you smash those thumbs up. If you're not the type to scroll down and smash a thumbs up on the video, make this be the video you do. Also, subscribe to the channel if you have not already. If you want daily updates, tick your notification bell to get you notified when I post new videos. And if you enjoy the content, make sure you share the video if you belong to any groups or whatnot. All right, so the Dow futures. This is pre-market. Hopefully this video gets out before the market opens. But as of right now, the Dow futures are up a little over 200 points. S&P is up a little over 25, and Nasdaq's up a little more than 71. That can change before open. So like I said, hopefully this comes out before open. Looking at the Dow Jones, I told you last week to watch for a close under this 31.4. We did get the close under there. We may open up with a little spike above here, but let's see if it holds. If we close the daily above this, yeah, it's right. It's the same, right around the 31,417. So if we close the daily above there, then we may get some bullish action for Bitcoin. If we open and close this next candle below the 31.4, so we have to see what happens at open. Any close down below here, then we're probably going to remain bearish. As you guys know, I believe we're going to be headed down towards this trend line here, which also is our trend line on the RSI. So we may get a little bit of sideways action for the beginning of the week here, and then a continuation to the downside. Looking at the DXY, as you guys know, I'm bullish on the DXY. My next target is around 112. I think if we break above that 112, we got much higher to go. If we take a look at the weekly DXY, here is my big outlook on the DXY. So I think in the next year or two, we could be as high as 178. That's a measured move of this falling wedge, which we had our breakout way back over here. 122 is my next resistance level if the 112 breaks. And guys, that doesn't mean it shoots straight up in a day like Bitcoin. This is going to take time, but these are my long-term targets. If you guys are interested in trading before we get into Bitcoin, definitely check out PrimeXBT. Links down below in the description. I also have tutorials on my YouTube page. Definitely check them out if you haven't already. By far my favorite exchange. They don't trade against you. You don't get the scam wicks. You can trade Bitcoin, some other altcoins, Forex, gold, silver, oil, S&P, Dow Jones, everything from one exchange. And you can use my promo code SAVVY50. That'll get you up to a $7,000 bonus. SAVVY25 will get you 25% off of your fees. All right, so let's take a look at this triangle we are in here right now. We've been talking about this since it started forming. We have some pretty good touches here. So it is making a lot of sense as of right now. But remember, a lot of times these can be fake outs. You can get a pump up and then just dump down. Same thing on the reversal. So what we're going to watch here is the break of one of these trend lines. Let's as of right now, if this happens within the next, and this isn't going to be exact, guys, because it depends on if, when, and where this candle breaks. But if we break this trend line, let's say if it broke today around the 20,250 to 20,300 range, what would the bullish target be? That would be around 21.3. A lot of times when this breaks out, it'll come back down for a retest before continuing up. But that's the bullish case there, which also lines up with the 4-hour RSI on the 200 EMA. But if we break to the downside, that's going to be, I'm looking for a break of this last low, which is the 19,600. We break that. I've been talking about it for days. If we do break that level, we're most likely headed down. That target would be about 18,500. So that's, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and put that in there. I'm going to make it a different color so we know what target that is. Let's go ahead and put this in here. And we're going to make that one white because it's out of the white triangle, just so we can keep track of it that way. So that's the white target. Let's put a price on there. Okay, so That target's going to be about 18.5 with the break of this, right? We have these other targets here. So if we do break down, remember, if we break up past this, and we could be looking for a 21.3, something else you got to watch for that happens a lot of times in this is you go up, it may just make another channel, but I believe we've been beating on this resistance too many times to make it back up here. But if we did get a fake out, it would probably get up to around the 20,700 range. But again, that's the bullish case. We are going to take a look at the bearish case now. Bearish case starts at the break of 19.6. We break the 19.6 area, and these are my next targets. First one, measuring just the measured move of this triangle is about 18.5, but we do have some different targets here, and I'm going to show you how we got those. Let's start out with this here. This is just a measured move from the break of here down to the bottom, and then we look at this trend line across. If that breaks, that gets us 18.1. We also have, which one was this at 18.7? Let's take a look at here. The break from the blue trend line. There it is. So if we'll look at the break from the blue trend line, you can see we had 2 touches, 3 touches, and then it broke. We bring that over to the break, looking at this as a bear flag. We've had these targets for weeks, guys. 18.7. That would be our target, our first target move. So 18.5 to 18.7 is, you can almost count on that if 19.6 breaks, right? And then we go from the yellow trend line break, and we look at that as the bear flag. That one gets us the 18.1. And then from the white, right up here, the white trend line from that break, looking at this whole thing as a flag pull, that is a bear flag. Look at that. That gets us back down to the 17.5. But remember, I think if we break that 17.5, then we're headed back down towards our next target, which we'll look at here. This is the daily chart. Like I said, then we're going to go into the weekly, and I'm going to show you how I think Bitcoin's going to bottom and why, right? So right now, if we look at the RSI, we have more room to come down to the downside here, which gives us a lot more room than just getting to this 17.5, right? We drew this in. Let me zoom in so you guys can see it. We drew this in a couple weeks ago. It would have been back in here around the beginning of August. So about a month ago, we drew this in. It does seem to be playing out. Like I said, look for a possible bounce at this 17.5, right? But we don't have to bounce there, because every time we thought we had a low and was going to be a bounce area, it blew right through. As you can see right here, it happened in 25 at 25.4, and then it happened again here at 33,000, right? Everybody thought it was going to be a double bounce. Boom. It wasn't. It blew through, and pretty hard. Same thing here. I think we may see the same thing at 17.5, but here is what I'm looking at. So I do think sometime towards the end of this year, everybody thinks, that believes in the 4-year cycle, they think that the bottom is going to be in October, November. I do think there will be a possible false bottom, and I'll explain why. I do think there might be a false bottom between that 75 and 8,500 sometime towards the end of the year. That will bring our RSI down to retest here, get a bounce. Now, this bounce will look big. Say if we go from, 7 to 8,000 all the way up to 15,000 to maybe even 20,000, or just retest that 17.5, everyone will get extremely bullish, right? Exit liquidity for the true bottom happening next year. I do believe the bottom is going to be in next year, and I'll show you in the next charts why I believe that. But I think we can get down to here, October, November, maybe even sooner. If this happens sooner, we'll have to take a look at what's going on. But get our false bottom, get a big bounce up for a couple months into next year, and then come down. And I do have scary numbers down here. This has been my original one since December 2nd when I started talking about it, about 3,600. But we also have a target that could get us as low as, we look at this whole thing from the top as a bear flag, right? Down to the bottom here, this being the flag pull. Bring it down. That gets it all the way down to 1,500. I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm saying it's a possibility that we need to look at. So just be careful there. So here is our weekly chart that we've been watching. I told you guys once we broke this rising broadening wedge, 20,800 area would be a good place to short. Still looking good. We have not been able to break back above that. If it was to come back up and retest this, which would be around 21.4 would be the bottom of this rising broadening wedge, right? But we do have our targets here of the rising broadening wedge. If we put a, I don't know where it went here, but if we put a target in there, our first target's at 14.5. So that is a area I look for a bounce if the 17.5 is broken is 14.5. Remember, this is the weekly, so this stuff takes a little bit longer. But we also had the break from this yellow trend line. We bring that down, bring it to where it broke. That gets us down to that $3,000 to $4,000 range. Again, that doesn't mean this has to happen. This will take months, guys. But we also have, looking at this as a flag pull, which happened when we broke up here, gave us our target, and here. And that gets us around that false bottom area, 75 to 85,000. We can get more accurate when it starts, if it does start to confirm, right? So let's take a look at the .com bubble. This is the Amazon on the left. I made this chart on December 2nd. I also made a video where you can check it out. It's playing when you open my YouTube channel page. So right, it is looking almost identical. This is how overhyped bubbles pop. Speculative overhyped bubbles, right? So right in here, a lot of .com scams had to get washed out. There were tons of scams coming in. And a lot of people say, you know, the market cap's different, this and that. Well, if we would have had cell phones and everything back here, it would have looked the same. It would have just been more money because people would have had easier access. So as in, you know, the formation, this is all about the formation. Like I said, we drew this back in December 2nd. We started talking about this. People called me crazy, but look at how it's playing out. Not saying it has to continue and play out the same way, but if you look, this was that false bottom, which I believe we're going to see something like that in Bitcoin. And I talked about this. You can look at my videos way back there. I said we'd get pumps up. After this drop, everyone would get super bearish, and then you get this pump up, and they would still not sell because, you know, that was it. It's back in bull mode, and that's exactly how people felt. And then we made a lower low. Each time we made a lower low, each little pump, everyone gets bullish. I told you that's how bubbles pop, and that is just how the patterns work. We've talked about this for a while. And looking for this on the RSI, if I move this over, once we broke this trend line, right? If you would have seen this in any chart on the weekly, you would get super bullish with this break. And it went up. This doesn't look very big here, but back when it happened, if you do a measurement here, it was about 120% correction from this low. So 120% sounds huge, but when you look at the big picture, it wasn't much. If we do get something down here, like I said, get a false bottom, 75 to 8,500, 100% move from that, it's going to be that 16 to 17,000, which was this low right here. So we could get a retest of that. We got a retest of this low on this one. That was, so yeah, it's, there's no denying that this thing looks almost identically playing out. It is a market structure. It doesn't matter what the asset is. It's how markets work. So people are saying you can't compare this with that. You can't compare. Yes, you can, because they're both markets. They're both speculative. They're both driven by emotion and big money. I can't explain it no better than that. That's what it is, guys. You can complain it or compare it. So this is that Amazon chart, same thing on the weekly. You can see how long this bottom took to form, and it actually formed an inverse head and shoulders right here, right? Showing that was a bottom in the macro. You're not going to find the bottom of a weekly chart like this in a 4-hour chart. You're not going to find the bottom in a daily chart. You're not going to be able to find this on the weekly until it's formed. So this took about 2 to 3 years, depending on where you want to look at the start, to bottom from the, you know, when it started hitting these lows. So you draw a line across here, right? And you can see the inverse head and shoulders that formed there. Let me get this out of the way. See it there. That's how you're going to find a bottom. And I think you'll have plenty of time here, like I said, a couple years to buy the bottom if Bitcoin succeeds and does what this did. But you can see it took 10 years to break the all-time high, right? So just showing you guys that. And And it happens in a lot of bubble patterns. I made a video a while back. You can go check it out. It was probably a month, maybe 2 months ago. It's called How Bubbles Pop or Why Bubbles Pop, something like that. You'll see it on the thumbnail, but definitely go check that out. But if this was to play out like this, guys, in another 20, 30 years, could have a huge, huge rally. But, you know, a lot of people are talking about, you know, waiting for the moon stage, the 4-year cycle, 2025 is going to, you know, it's just going to moon in 2025, make a new all-time high. That would look like this, right? I highly doubt that chart is going to do that. So just putting it out there, guys, be careful. I know a lot of people are stuck on this 4-year cycle thing, but remember, there's 4-year election cycles. I don't think the 4 years has anything to do with the halving. It doesn't get more rare because there's still more Bitcoin printed every day, just not as many. So every 4 years that gets cut in half. But guys, we already know there's going to be 21 million, so it's not making it any more rare, right? I hope you understand what I'm trying to say. But anyways, thanks for watching. Don't forget to smash that thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, share the video, and I'm out of here. Thanks, guys.